In this video, we're going to speak about generating and activating your own certificate on the GUI of FortiGate. Here are the recommendations that you will need. You'll need DNS recording, certificate management system, and the DNS R records for the particular zone that you're going to generate the certificate. Let's log into the FortiGate. Okay, after logging in on the unit, just to guarantee that we have access, we need access to the FortiAuthenticator, which we are going to use as a certificate management system. Under certificate authorities, we'll create a new certificate. Here we need to define the root certificate details. I like to use the name, the domain name, as the certificate ID. Common name should always be the domain name, the zone. And here are the details. They will be part of the subject information that we are going to access later. Okay, let's fill all the information. Normally for each individual, those certificate information should be private. Here are the key usage and we click OK. Let's go to user certificate. Basically here we are going to generate certificate for the device or for that particular subdomain. Okay, let's specify the name. I'm using admin.lab.com. Under this authority, here is the subdomain. Here are the certificate details. You can use your own company information. Mail address. Okay. Specify the DNS is very important. Also, you can change the details and expire of certificate and the key usage. I'm using the following information: key usage. They should be verified before enabling based on the type. It's important to use server certificate because from the FortiGate perspective, the certificate will be server, used for the server, the GUI server. Okay, certificate is now ready. Okay, let's download the certificate alongside with the private key. It will require a password. I'm gonna put here a simple password that I'm gonna use later on the FortiGate to import it. It will be generated in P12 encrypted file format, so that because it belongs, also it has the private key. In addition, we need to download the certificate authority as well. It will be important. Okay, let's go to the FortiGate now. On system, certificate, we need to import the local certificate as a P12 encrypted certificate. Here's the password that we provided on the, and the name should be something that you can distinguish later. Let's import also the CA certificate. Okay. I'd like to rename the certificate because you might have multiple certificates on your system. So initially, let's configure the certificate. Before doing so, we might need to verify what is the name of this certificate. So let's check again. Okay, CA Cert 1 is the one. Let's verify the serial number, if it is exactly the same one. This method can be used to identify the certificate that you are using. Okay, everything is correct. So let's rename the certificate to have a more distinguishable name. Let's use this command, rename. Okay, now let's make the changes on the okay, let's make the change changes on the settings. Okay. Here should apply the new certificate that we have imported. Okay, this will start the web daemon on the FortiGate to apply the new certificate. Basically, the configuration is correct. Since we don't have a DNS, we are going to access the machine from this interface, which is a test device that we can modify the host file. So I'm bringing here a test machine directly connected through LAN interface. Let's check if we have reachability to this subdomain. Normally it should not. It should resolve a random IP address from internet. Okay, then what we're going to do, we are going to create a record on the notepad host file, accessing and modifying the host file. Additionally, you can use FortiGate as a DNS server and define those. It's a good method, but for this test I'm using host file. Here we need to define the domain and the IP address of the interface to be accessed. The IP address should be based on from which source you are accessing it. So if you can put in the registrar the IP address where you expect. In this case, I'm accessing it from this interface, from this IP address, which is the LAN interface. Now let's ping the interface, and you see the IP address is exactly the LAN interface. Now we need to access the domain to perform the test. Normally it should not work because this does not have the browser does not have knowledge about the certificate authority that is issuing this subdomain. Okay. In order to fix this, just to verify that we have access to the FortiGate through the IP address, so it's the same system, but from a different interface. Yeah, exactly. We need to download the certificate because the browser does not have that information, and we need the certificate, so I'm using the FortiGate to retrieve that certificate. It will be impossible for the browser to trust this subdomain unless it has this authority. So from Firefox, let's import it. Okay, apparently it's not working, so let's close it. Okay, and open it again. Firefox is good for this type of tests because it has its own certificate repository without interrupting the system. So any changes you're doing on Firefox applies only to Firefox. It doesn't follow the system certificate. Okay, so let's find certificate. Okay. Let's trust it. This certificate, which is the one that we generated. Okay, a browser need to be closed so that it will verify that certificate. Now let's try to access the FortiGate through the domain or subdomain basically that we expect. And you see the certificate is the correct one. Let's check the details of the certificate. You see the subject information are the ones that we pre-filled before. Okay. And also the authority is the one that we created from the issuing authority is this one. So everything is as expected. Okay, let's close this. Okay, refresh it. If we try to access it from a different browser, we will have because it might be necessary to access it from a different browser. Let's copy this domain. I'm gonna use Chrome in my test. Let's access it. It should not work because, as mentioned before, that certificate authority is not installed on the system, and Chrome uses the system-wide certificate repository. So we might need to install the certificate under this machine, and I'm using only current user, local user. Install certificate, current user. Here you need to put it to trusted root authorities, which is this folder. Yes. Let's click save and confirm. Okay, now let's try to access it again from Chrome. Okay, close this windows. All of them, don't need them anymore. Okay, you see the certificate now is it's green, showing that it is valid and the site is secure. Let's check the subject information. You see everything matches exactly as it showed on the Firefox. Perfect. Okay. Let's access again the system just to verify. Okay, exactly. This is the same system. Let's go to the certificates. Okay, here also you can use this to apply it on the SSL VPN, but this would be another video. Another method would be to generate a CSR request. You can also use your own certificate authority to generate this. Basically, here I'm using admin2.lab.com as a CSR request. Basically, we're filling all this information directly from FortiGate, and FortiGate will generate the private key encrypted as a CSR. All this information should be part of this. Okay, let's fill this. I'm putting random data. You can have your own information according to your location, company, and details. Okay. If you're purchasing the service somewhere online, this would be the most common method to use this feature. Be aware, be advised that this method is only for certificates that apply to either SSL VPN or admin interface. So you see, CSR was generated. We need to download this file, and we will use this to sign it from the authority that we are interested. In our case, since we don't have a public, we are using FortiAuthenticator to perform this action. Well, let's log into the, apparently our session has expired. Certificate management. Okay, and users. So here we are going to use different method now. We are going to import a pre-generated CSR. Okay, most of modern systems, they have this option. Import the generated CSR, and we need to input here some additional details. I'd like to specify key usage because, as I mentioned before, you should choose here the key usage based on the type of certificate that you're using. In our situation, mandatory is server authentication. Okay, let's verify that the information is correct. Apparently we have a mistake. Yeah, we need to define a name. I'm using the same as subdomain. Oh, should upload the file. Okay. Yes, it should update the file. The CSR that we downloaded, let's confirm. Okay, let's wait a few seconds and click OK again. Okay, you see certificate now is generated, and let's export it. The difference now, the certificate, it is in SER file, because as mentioned, we need only the public key now because the private key is inside of the FortiGate. So let's begin again, import. Personally, I would recommend the first method because it will give you the option to have the certificate along with private key every time. So in case you upgrade the FortiGate, you will have the certificate alongside with private key to import it to a new device. When I say upgrade, I mean changing the device to a new one. You see certificate is valid from pending and everything now. It is configured as expected. Let's go to settings. Here you should see the new certificate showing. You can click apply, but we are not going to test because it will be the same output as the first one. That's the only difference is the method how we generate it. We successfully now have configured the certificate as our goal was. Thank you for your time and enjoy your FortiDay.